Welcome to In Our Town, Conversations with Springfieldians Making a Difference. I'm your host, Tom Carlson, publisher of the Springfield Daily Citizen. If you'd like to comment on this episode, our email is inourtown@sgfcitizen.org. We'd love to hear from you. A new professional sport is debuting in Springfield on Saturday, June 1st at the Springfield Fairgrounds. It's arena football, a fast-paced version of American football that in some ways reminds you of hockey. The new team calls itself the Ozarks Lunkers, and joining me today is General Manager Caleb Scott. Caleb, welcome to In Our Town.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
So if you're going to give somebody the elevator speech telling them about arena football, how would you describe it?
Yeah, I do this a lot, and the two favorite things I lead with are proximity and affordability. It's closer than you've ever been to professional football in your life, and it's at a fraction of the price. It is half vertically, half horizontally with hockey walls. So there's really no out of bounds. It's just guys violent up close with fun, fully surrounding it peripherally with every kind of entertainment spectrum you can imagine.
It sounds awfully physical.
Absolutely. We have designed it to be as safe as possible, but there is no doubt that when a football player goes up for a pass over the wall, there is an added value there that comes in crazy with conflict and violence.
So I did a little research about arena football prior to our interview today, and it appears that maybe on some leagues the rules are one way, and on other leagues perhaps another. So what's the name of the league that the Ozarks Lunkers are going to be in?
So it's called the Arena League, so it's TAL. It's a little confusing right now because there's a lot of arena leagues throughout the country. But this is the first of its kind. So any arena football being played right now professionally is 8-on-8. 8 guys on one side, 8 guys on the other.
And how total number of guys on the team?
So in regular arena football, they carry about a 25-man roster. In our arena, it's 6-on-6 carrying a 15-man roster. So it's an even smaller version of arena football being played right now, essentially kind of removing some of the bigger lineman body types that are just one-dimensional and making sure that each player on the field has the ability to do multiple things.
So will an offensive player also play defense sometimes?
There's a large possibility of that, yeah. So as we built our roster, we kind of have a list of hybrid guys that go back and forth between an offensive personnel or defensive personnel.
One of the things that I noticed in researching, you've got a lot of people from the Springfield area.
Yeah, as we built this, regular arena football, or like the standard for arena football, is very much so recruit from wherever, bring them all into one location for a couple weeks training camp, house them for 3 or 4 months, and then send them back on. And I just really feel like that's an outdated way of doing things, at least for this area. Southwest Missouri has put out some really fantastic athletes. There's a lot of excellence in this area when it comes to football, and we wanted to showcase that and also allow fans to connect with these player narratives that were born in this area. So guys,
who are some of the folks that people might know?
Yeah, so our inaugural signing, Matt Rush, played at Hillcrest and then ended up playing at Missouri State, and then actually played for me a little bit at Queen City, was offered professional contracts wherever we went. He is the most dynamic athlete you'll ever see on the field.
Now, you mentioned Queen City. What was Queen City?
So prior to all this, I owned it was a semi-professional football team. Kind of started very organically in the middle of COVID. It was just something that we did to enjoy the sport, post-graduate, post-college. Mm-hmm. And the talent that we were able to bring in rose the level of excellence within our standard, and we started playing very, very well. And so we started getting some recognition professionally and got to play some indoor football ourselves and see what it was about. So that's kind of what helped transition from this role to the role I'm at now with the Lunkers.
Who are some of the other players that people might know about?
Yeah, so we just signed Tyler Evans. Tyler Evans is out of Stratford, Missouri. He went and played at the University of Oklahoma as an offensive lineman. He is 6'6", 315 pounds. He is a monster of a human being. And while you would
think...
He's
not a wide receiver.
Well, so the reality about our arena league is that everybody's eligible. So there are times where Tyler is eligible to catch a pass.
Okay. Well, that'll be fun to watch.
Absolutely. Not a guy I want to tackle, but, he's big for a reason.
Any other names people might know?
Tons. So we have a guy who played defensive line who's from Lagos, Nigeria. His name's Taiwo Ulawafamila.
No, I'm not going to ask you to spell that.
We've got, even our head coach, Cam Bruffett, is the current head coach at Parkview High School, played at Fairgrove, played at Evangel. just very Springfield and Ozarks-centric people involved in this progress, just because they really care about this area and bringing something to the Ozarks that's not been brought before.
So as we touched on earlier, some things are different from conventional football on a 100-yard field. What would those things be?
Yeah, so first and foremost, take a 100-yard field in half. So it's only 50 yards long, and then take it in half from the sidelines. So it's 50 yards long, 28 and a half yards wide with 8-yard end zones in a rectangle. And so then they have these 45-inch hockey walls that serve as boundaries or out-of-bounds markers.
So where does the coach stand while the game's being played?
So just like hockey, where there are boxes and areas that players can sub in and out through a gate, our coaching staff, our training staff, and our remainder of our roster will be there on the sideline, ready to open a gate, hop on, and trade out.
So I mentioned in the introduction about hockey. I'm trying to give our listeners a visual thought here, image. So if now you're going to be playing at the new arena at the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds.
Correct.
Wilson's Logistics, is that the name of it? I think it is, yeah. So if I get a front row seat, how far away am I from the players?
Yeah, so the Wilson Logistics Arena is about 6,200 seating when we get our field laid down. And I tell people all the time, I can sell you an expensive ticket or I can sell you a ticket that gets you in the door, but I promise you, wherever you sit, it's still probably closer than you've ever seen professional football in your life. We do have these corporate suites available for fans to be actually on the wall so that as players come up against the wall, get tackled, go over the wall, balls get thrown, you are as close to the action as possible so that listeners understand in hockey you have glass from the remainder up from the bottom part of the wall.
Right.
In ours, there's no glass, there's no nets, there's no anything. So if a football comes out of bounds, we need fans to be vigilant, and that's a souvenir that they're taking home.
I would hope this wouldn't happen, but could a fan stick his hand out and catch a ball and interfere with the play?
They definitely could. It gets them ejected.
You wouldn't do it twice.
I would hope that fans would leave the football to the football players, but it is kind of one of those things where you sit on the foul baseline from baseball and a ball comes into the air. You just don't want to be that one on that ESPN show getting called out for ruining a game because you knocked the ball down.
So how long are your quarters?
They're still 4 quarters, 15-minute quarters. They're just running clocks with a 20-second play clock. Okay. So as this league was developed, the idea was there are things within football on Sundays during the NFL season that people don't pay attention to. And if that's the case, why do we have them? So kicking, a lot of times commercial pans out or it's not as serious or people they're getting refills, whatever happens. So we don't have kickers. We just throw the ball off. And, you're waiting forever for this next play to start. There's 20 seconds on a play clock now. So it is going fast and fast and fast. So from a fan's experience, it's high energy.
How much time would expire with, the typical breaks and timeouts from beginning to end?
You're probably looking at a 2.5 hour game.
Okay.
Start at 7 o'clock out at the Wilson Logistics Arena. We have a pregame tailgate party that starts at 3. Come out, listen to live music. We got bounce houses. We've got all sorts of crafts, fun, and games. There's going to be food and drink out there. And then whenever you come inside, doors open at 6. We'll have all sorts of cool things like the 417 Princesses where you can go meet and take pictures with a real princess. We'll have the dinosaur from the Discovery Center and all sorts of other stuff for kids and families to enjoy.
A typical ticket cost?
So our general admission ticket's $15. They go up with about $50 a ticket for VIP. So really very, very affordable. We know that to go to a Chiefs game over the weekend, it might cost you, $1,500 if you took your whole family and parked and stayed and did everything.
Right.
So for us to have something in our backyard, we want it to be affordable that a family of 4 or 5 can come and maybe spend $100 and have a great time watching football.
So you don't have kickoffs, but do you have field goals? Do you kick through field goals?
There is no kicking. We don't employ a kicker.
Oh,
so
not at all. Okay.
On a touchdown, you can go for it from the 5 for a 1-point conversion, or you can go for it from the 10 for a 2-point conversion.
I see. Okay. What about the grass or turf? What's that like?
Yeah, so we actually just got our turf in. It's brand new. It's got custom end zones. We're having different things painted coming next week. It is a field turf that's got padding underneath. So normal arena football turf is kind of that spongy AstroTurf with fabric on top of it. Our league went and found this really cool newer turf that's like grass, synthetic grass that feels real to the players and that gives that overall real experience of football.
How much in a regular game? How much scoring is there?
It's never going to end 7-14. I promise you that much. It'll be 75 to 85.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah, it's designed for the offense to score. We know that fans enjoy touchdowns. You enjoy celebrating with your team. We know that those things participate in the overall fan experience. And so a lot of arena football games have very, very high scores.
And so there's no netting, so I'm sure there's going to be some incomplete passes that end up in the bleachers. How many footballs do you guys have to bring to the game?
Yeah, so for the season, we ordered about 350 footballs. So what's really unique about this league and our team specifically is that these are indoor footballs, so you can do more color-wise in design. And so because our colors are red, we have a white and red football that kind of looks like a fishing bobber, to be brand consistent. And so what we do is we let fans know ahead of time, hey, any football that leaves the field of play, whether a player celebrates and gives it to a fan or an incomplete pass ends up in somebody's lap, it's a souvenir for them to take home. Tell them to hold on to it, come down at the end of the game, get a player to sign it. We just ask that fans are paying attention because sometimes those things are coming quick.
Yeah, I can imagine. Tell us a little bit about your logo.
Yeah, so the Lunkers is always something that people have questions about, and I get it. Our league didn't want to reuse the Tigers for the 50th time. So they looked at things that were community centric. And so obviously with Bass Pro in our backyard, a large fishing population, the Lunkers was kind of something that made sense. So a Lunker isn't a specific type of fish. It's just fish.
It's a big one.
Yeah, the one to be desired at the lake when you go fishing with your buddies.
Exactly.
And then the Ozarks was really important.
Stories come from.
100%. And then the Ozarks was something that we really wanted to make sure it wasn't just Springfield. We wanted this to be Southwest Missouri to be proud of. We wanted Branson, we wanted Bolivar, Joplin, all these people to come up and celebrate with us for something that they could belong to and be proud of that just so happened to take place in Springfield.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Hello, I'm John Tate, and I'm the Partnership Sales Manager for the Springfield Daily Citizen. A typical day in my life is kind of hard to pin down. The only constant that I would typically have is the ability to connect with and meet new and interesting folks in our community, be it nonprofits, local small businesses, or interesting folks here in Springfield. The most rewarding parts of my capacity here at the Springfield Daily Citizen is building relationships and developing and executing solutions that bring both partner and reader together. One of the things I love about living in Springfield, outside of the people of course, is that it's such a fertile environment for so many people to have their dreams take root and later become reality. This was the town I kind of grew up and came of age in. This is the town that I've made lifelong friends in, fallen in love in, built a life and a family in. I've had the unique honor of seeing so many friends start businesses, build homes, start families. I can't imagine anywhere else that I would rather live, work, and play than Springfield.
I'm kind of interested in the profile of a typical arena football player. Typically, is a guy just out of college, or is it somebody that maybe played pro and is no longer playing pro? Tell us a little bit about that.
So we can take 18 and up. Most of the time I tell guys, if you're good enough to play with us, you should be going to do it and get an education for it. So we don't have very many guys that aren't playing college ball. There is kind of a sweet spot where once you graduate college, college football, if you've never played it, it turns into an occupation really quickly. There's such a scrutiny over, meetings and delivering on your athleticism and your potential loss of scholarship. And so when you finally get through the whole process, you finally relax and you get back to that last year of playing where you're playing instinctual football. And it's hard because a lot of these guys transition out of postgraduate play finally back to that instinctual love of the game, and it's over. Yeah. And so they get these jobs, they have these nice degrees that they've worked for, they get these careers, and then they put roots here. And then, arena football comes along and they say, hey, we want you to come play for us, but we live in Salina, Kansas. And so these guys can't give up their careers where their families made roots at. So what has been so unique about this is that we have given guys that live locally a chance to play pro football that have always deserved to, just never had the platform for it.
What would their age ranges be typically?
So I think our youngest cat is 21, 22, and our oldest gentleman is about 37. So he is the oldest we have for sure. And people always ask me all the time, like, Is that too old? And the record is still to be set. I will tell you, though, that what he may not have in the spring of his step as when he was 22 years old, he makes up for tremendously by being a very, very intelligent football player and a very tremendous leader. He puts guys in positions to make plays on the football because he sees everything. And with six-man arena football, there's so much to be learned so quickly that having a mind like that a part of your program does things for you that athleticism may not be able to do.
He's a real asset.
He is, absolutely.
How did you get involved in this stuff?
God foresaw that I was going to fit into the mold that was the Ozarks Lunkers, and he just wanted to do it in a way that was strategic to me not needing any glory. I graduated football at SBU, played a little bit there.
Southwest Baptist.
In Bolivar, yes, sir.
Yeah.
I wasn't a standout, wasn't really impressive. I walked on in college, actually, and then by the time I'd figured it out, it was over for me, too. Played a little semi-pro football, found out about that level of football, and played it for a little bit in Joplin, came back in Springfield, played for a little bit, and then just decided to be done. One of the players approached me and said, "Hey, you should own your own team." And I said, "Man, that sounds like a lot of work." And he said, just give it a shot. So casually I said, "Hey, whatever, we'll call ourselves the Queen City Insane Asylum. We'll be light pink and baby blue. It'll be a big joke. You'll see that it's not going to work." So we hosted a tryout, and 72 guys came out. And we were
No kidding. My
okay.
goodness.
So we start our recruiting, practicing, building in the winter of 2019 to kick off in March of 2020, which, if you remember right, globally, the world shut down. So trying to play
I got to congratulate you on your timing.
So trying to play a full contact sport in the middle of a world that couldn't be 6 feet from each other was hard.
Sure.
But we had these men who had bonded over this childhood game, who had refound purpose in this game, and it was so important to them. And so I said, man, we got to find a way to play. So there just happened to be a struggling facility that was trying to keep their doors open during this time, and they said, "Hey, we're not in Springfield, come out and give it a shot." And so we did, and we played through COVID. And our program started with this ragtag outfield baseball team to being a nationally recognized team that played in multiple national championships, professional football games, featured on SportsCenter. I would get calls from my friends that were all throughout the country saying, "Hey, people know about Queen City and this bar in St. Petersburg, Florida." So we got all the way fourth year thinking this is going to be our year. A professional league reaches out and they say, "Hey, you have the infrastructure. We think you guys will be a good fit." I ask how much, and they say 400. And I go, "Bucks?" I was like, "I'll send you a check right now." And he was like, "No, 400,000." And I was like, "Whoa.
That's a chunk.
It's pricey to do it." So in that league at that time, that was their league buy-in, franchise dues, whatever. And so I said, "You know what? I'm a doer. I will go get it figured out. I'm going to do whatever I need to independently fundraise." And we started making some calls. And then all of a sudden, the news announced that there was an indoor professional football team coming to Springfield. And so my messages were flooded with people being like, "Dude, how exciting. Good for you guys."
Yeah.
And like nobody had told me anything, but I just kind of like assumed that everybody else thought the same thing I thought. Well, then they do a team name announcement, and they announce the Ozarks Lunkers. And I go, "That's weird because that's not my team's name." And then they announce the owner, Mark Burgess. And I go, "That's weird."
He runs the air service at the airport.
Right. I go, "It's not me. It's not my team. This guy flies airplanes. What does he know about football?"
Hey, he's getting in your sandbox, man.
So I'm very frustrated about this. I'm very bitter. And so a real estate connection of mine says, "Hey, here's Mark's number. You should call him." And I'm like, I'm going to call him and tell him exactly how I feel. So I call him. I say, "Hey, this is Caleb Scott." And he goes, "Hey, I know who you are." And I was immediately taken back by the fact that he being such a high-level man, knew my little ragtag football team. He said, "Hey, I want you to know that I'm not in this business to hurt you or be a competitor or take away from the hard work that you've done." And immediately he was so excellent in what he did. And so I was like, "Okay." He's like, "I think we should get breakfast." I said, "Let's do it." So we plan to go to Panera. I show up. He's got his pilot outfit on. And he goes, "Hey, I just want to let you know we had an emergency trip planned. A pilot can't make it. I got to cover the flight. But I wanted you to know how important this meeting was to me, so I showed up before I left."
Oh.
And I showed up so ready to just tell this man how I felt and that he had just ruined my
totally
program.
Disarmed you,
Oh,
didn't
he did. And he has done that
Yeah.
ever since. So I'll be honest with you, man.
Good fit, huh?
He is so excellent. He is so good at everything that he does, and he manages more than I think any human being should manage, and he does it with so much grace. He teaches me so many things. He'll call me and say, hey, I saw what you did here, and I know your heart, but let me give you a couple of pointers. And it has helped me grow tremendously as a man, as a manager, as a father, all those things. He's taught me a whole lot. So we meet, we talk about the vision. He was very honest to say, hey, I love football, but I don't really know all the ins and outs of how this all works.
Right.
He goes, let's do it together, and we'll figure it out along the way.
Tell us a little bit about some of the mechanics and the details you got to get lined out to open the doors on June 1.
Man, you said this podcast only lasted about 30 minutes. I got about 30 days worth of stuff we could talk about.
Okay, give me the top 2 or 3 then.
So there's just a lot of moving parts. A new arena. They just built the arena less than a year ago.
Right.
So they're learning alongside us, and they've been so great. But, you're bringing in a whole new thing: turf, walls, pads, painting, players, fans, concessions. Who does this? Who's got the security here? Who's running the parking lot? And then you have a player. And this football has never been played in the country anywhere. So we are the first to ever do it. So we're trying to find the right athlete, find the right coaching staff. And then it's expensive. So, we're out here trying to get advertising and corporate partnerships. And if I was a business owner and you came to me and said, hey, I've got this cool idea, but I can't show you anything yet, I would be a little hesitant with my funds as well.
Right.
So it's been a little difficult trying to sell conceptually. I can sell my passion, I can sell my investment, I can sell my creativity, but I can't show you 6-man arena football in Springfield because it's never, ever been done before.
Yeah, I can see it would be a challenge.
So that's one of our biggest hurdles right now.
I don't think I've asked you yet about the league itself. How many teams in the league?
So year 1, there's 4. There's us, the Ozarks Lunkers. There's the Kansas City Goats, the Duluth Harbor Monsters in Minnesota, and the Iowa Woo, based out of Waterloo, Iowa.
How many games would be played here in Springfield?
So on schedule right now, we have 4 home games. But if we are the top 2 teams, we'll play a 5th home game. And if we win that, we'll play a 6th home game.
So you'll play a max or minimum of 8 games?
Yeah.
And maybe as many as 12?
8 regular, 10.
10, okay.
Yeah.
10, all right.
Yeah.
Will it be carried on the radio or televised?
So we do have a broadcast. We'll have a YouTube live stream where people can tune in if they don't make
cool.
it.
All right.
Color commentators, all that kind of stuff. But we really want to stress the fact that you're going to miss a lot by not coming. There's a lot of stuff that we've built into the game, whether it be nonprofit involvement or things outside of football for your kids, for your family. We're giving away a pontoon bass boat from Bass Pro week 1, you know what I mean? So we've just got so many fun things that we're doing that we just want the Ozarks to come be a part of and enjoy.
When does the season end, the regular season?
So I think we play our last home game July 13th. So July 6th and July 13th are back-to-back weekends. July 6th is a military appreciation, coming from July 4th. Uh-huh. Then July 13th, we're doing a Make-A-Wish game where we're partnering with Make-A-Wish to do a big reveal for a little kid.
What do your players do the rest of the year when they're not playing for the Ozarks Lunkers?
So they've got jobs spanning from merchant services director for a bank, nurse. We've got guys that so that older guy I told you about is the director of Boys and Girls Club. They're all involved in all sorts of different career paths, all doing really amazing things. That also helps with us as we build kind of our roster, because now these people have existing employee fan bases that are going to come support them and that get to talk about it at their job. So all of them do a multitude of different things on top of being husbands and fathers and churchgoers and everything else.
Caleb, it sounds really interesting. I want to get out there and check it out myself. Before we close today, is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd like our listeners to know?
Yeah, the one thing I want people to just consistently remember is that it is designed for everybody in your family. If someone in your family said, I don't care about football whatsoever, I promise you there is something there that you'll love. It's affordable, and it's something that we have really invested heavily into where we live. We care about this area. We want the people that live here to be proud of it. We've Mark and Monica and the leadership group of our program have invested so much of their time, their resources, their own money to really deliver a fantastic, excellent product. And I know that anybody that attends will become lifelong fans. And they can get their tickets at ozarkslunkers.com. We have a Facebook page that is booming with cool media right now. Please check us out there. Instagram, all sorts of stuff. We're going to be announcing a bunch of stuff as it's coming up. So just stay tuned to our website and Facebook and Instagram. And
who's the team you're going to play on Saturday, June 1?
It is the Waterloo Woo from Iowa.
Waterloo Woo.
Yeah, that is a vocal warm-up in the morning, I'm telling you. The Waterloo Woo. Yeah.
Caleb Scott, thank you for being my guest today on In Our Town.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
You're welcome. That's it for this week, and many thanks for listening. If you'd like to listen to other episodes, you can visit the Springfield Daily Citizen website at sgfcitizen.org/In Our Town, or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.